Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today I actually wanted to make a quick little video on why some twin flames actually take longer than others in terms of coming into union with each other. Now, really, if you are the feminine energy, the chaser in the connection, if you can kind of understand these three key reasons that I am going to share in this video, it will be helpful to you to ensure that you stay on track to your union on and in the twin flame journey. Now, the first key reason actually holding the twin flame union from happening is really the feminine energy actually understanding that she needs to do inner work. This journey is not about the romance on the outside that we see and get addicted to in that bubble love phase, that initial phase when we actually meet our twin. When we overcome that, we can, start working towards what really needs to happen on this journey. And really, inner work is the key. Even if, inner work can actually be understood in so many ways. If you look at other coaches or guides that talk about twin flames, they will tell you you could perhaps do some chanting, focusing on the chakras. But really, if you just sat in meditation with complete stillness, that is sufficient for your inner work on the twin flame journey. But essentially, just understanding that that is the core task here on the twin flame journey, just that in itself, twin flames have a real hard time understanding that task because they are taking the twin flame, relationship or the experience of it as being very romantic and don't understand that this is the work that needs to be done. And therefore, they spend years sometimes really just understanding that all they need to do is sit in meditation, alchemize their energy, raise their vibration, and that's how they will come into union. So really the first key thing here is understanding the key task is meditation. Now, the second core reason that twin flames spend a lot of time on their twin flame journey, and this is really going to depend on your individual wounding, your traumas that you actually have to face going from your darkness into the light. Because remember, as you ascend on your spiritual journey, you are on a path to, going into light. And therefore, you should not be taking any darkness with you, which means you have to face your shadows, do the healing work, and really do all the releasing that needs to be done in order to get there. But that does mean letting go of things that you have been holding on to very tightly from the past. Now, each one of us actually heals very differently and has a hard time sometimes releasing certain emotions depending on what they're tied to from our past or past lives. Now, with that being said, somebody can take 2 months, releasing a particular past old wound or event, and someone can take 2 years. So this really depends on our own individual ability, the healing of our nervous system throughout this process of how long we're actually going to spend healing our old traumas and old wounds and really our relationship with them. Because really letting these old wounds go means that we are letting a part of our old identity fall that has clung on to these wounds so tightly. So really a lot of time can be spent on your twin flame journey just doing the release work and allowing the integration of new frequencies so you can actually ascend on your journey. Now, reason number 3, which is really, and I've saved the best one here for last, is you making sure that you do not lose sight of the inner work. Now, as you ascend on your spiritual journey as part of your twin flame journey, you are going to go through a change in vibration. You are going to go through an ego death. And after that ego death, you are going to want to find a new way of living and stepping into your purpose, which means this new truth that you've started to embody, you want to be able to live from that. But even after you step into your purpose, you could spend years doing and living in your purpose and still not come into union. Even if it's a, spiritual based business that you might be running, you may say to yourself, wait, why am I still not in union with my twin? I've done everything that I needed to do. And the answer to that is your third eye could even be open, but you are still a ways away from coming into union. And the simple reason for that is that just because your third eye is open does not mean that you have reached universal consciousness. And that's why I say it's very important for you to not lose sight of the fact that your inner work still needs to remain your number one priority. Regardless of how much you are loving what you do, that is still something you are doing in the 3D and is outside work. And you need to ensure that as much as this work is important, it's for the collective, you are still responsible for doing the inner work. Taking yourself from the astral region to the causal body in your meditation is critical and crucial to coming into universal consciousness, which is when you actually transcend the mind and actually come into unity consciousness. That is going to lead you into union with your twin flame. So you need to make sure that, as you start to live into your purpose, which is great, it's still not your number one priority on the twin flame journey. So just remember, on the twin flame journey, if you are looking for union, you really need to pay attention to these 3 reasons that will hold you back from your union. And that simply is, making sure that you are doing the inner work, understanding that that is your critical task on this journey for union. Your number 2 is really ensuring that you're releasing and integration work. And number 3 is really making sure that in meditation, regardless of what your outside looks like, your life may have transformed, you may have become magnetic to a lot of your desires. However, you still need to carry on your inward journey, making sure that you are not just stuck in your astral plane and moving towards the causal body and reaching universal consciousness in order to unite with your twin. So carry on doing your inner work, really, and not losing sight of that is key into coming into union with your twin flame. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.